Hello and welcome to the Sugarlift demo, University of Regina, 2020. Sugarlift is the most magical sounding of all of the neat new things you're going to be learning in this class. Sugarlift is really just a ground that is applied to a plate that can be lifted away. Let's get started. We have a cut and polished, degreased plate, and we have a jar of something called Sugarlift, which is corn syrup and India ink and a little bit of soap. It's kind of thick, like maple syrup. I've got a brush, but I could be using any number of tools to apply the Sugarlift to the plate. And this is a completely clean and completely degreased plate. There's nothing on this plate. And you can see I'm just drawing on it gently. I can draw thin and I can draw thick. I can do very delicate and fine work. It all really depends on the brush or whatever I'm using. I can even mimic brush strokes to an extent. One of the things I think is really neat about Sugarlift is that you really are drawing, or painting in this case, in the positive. Whatever you draw or paint on the plate right now will print later. My favorite way to use Sugarlift is to be really expressionistic with it. You can see I'm kind of dripping and spraying this all over the plate. You want to be careful because this stuff does make a bit of a mess. It cleans up with soap and water. Not really a big deal, but still you want to do this on newsprint or on a piece of phone book, such as I'm using here. When I feel like my plate is ready, I've done my drawing, I'm going to put it in front of the air vents and let it dry for at least half an hour, but ideally several hours or overnight. When I return, I've got a piece of newspaper, I've got a brush, I've got liquid hard ground in a little bowl, and a piece of wood. And I'm going to lean my plate. This is a different plate than we saw earlier, but such is the nature of doing a demo. I'm going to pour this liquid hard ground. This is not stop out, by the way. This is something entirely different. It comes out very, very quickly. It smells a little like stop out, but it's much thinner. I'm going to pour it into the glass jar. And then using this Hackett brush, which is available for you all to use, I'm going to put a small amount of it onto the brush and then brush it very gently side to side. The plate is leaned up so that gravity is doing the work of allowing any streaks and lines and that sort of thing to kind of fill themselves in. And really it's as simple as that. You don't want to overdo it. This stuff is wet and it only takes 10-15 minutes, maybe half an hour in front of the vent to dry. That's the liquid hard ground drying. Any extra liquid hard ground I have, I'm going to attempt as carefully as I can to pour it back into the metal container, put the lid on. I don't have to worry about cleaning the brush because it will become resaturated next time. So here's my plate. It is totally dry, and I put it into this grubby looking tray, and I'm going to pour some boiled water. I've just boiled water in the kettle, and I'm doing this out in the main studio. And I'm going to pour boiling water into this tray. I usually don't pour it directly on top of the plate. I pour it off to the side. And what's going to happen is that mixture of sugar and soap and India ink is going to become softened up by the warmth of the water, but also it manages to break through the surface of the liquid hard ground, which I had applied right over top. The liquid hard ground doesn't go anywhere because it is not soluble in water, but the Sugarlift material is soluble in water. So using a brush, you use a skinny brush. I've also got a thicker brush standing by. I just gently brush along the surface of the plate, and what you can start to see is shiny bits of copper revealing itself. So what is happening is the Sugarlift material, which was painted on and then allowed to dry, is lifting away, and it is taking with it the hard ground, that is the liquid hard ground that's on top. So this water is really hot, so I want to be careful. I maybe left that plate in after brushing it for another 10 or 15 minutes in the water and then cleaned it up slightly, and here it is. So at this point you can allow your plate to dry, spray aqua tint, etch it for an hour or however long you really want to etch it for the value you're interested in, even stop it out. Take it out of the acid, remove the ground like any other hard ground, bevel the edges and print. And here is an example of a plate that I had done that to. And here is the print from that plate. You don't have to aquatint though. You might choose to take your plate and etch it for 24 hours and make an embossing out of it. You may want to aquatint it and stop it out and etch it for a very short amount of time. You can also take sugar lift and place it over top of a degreased plate that already has imagery on it. So there are really all sorts of options and ideas for sugar lift. It's just another way to put your mark on a piece of copper.